Hey and welcome. If you are new here, my name is Erica and this is my weekly transit video. So, this is a general reading where I blend astrology, human design, gene keys, and tarot to navigate the current energy. This is a general collective reading, so please take what resonates with you and feel free to leave the rest. I help guide clients towards self discovery and empowerment by helping them embody their highest selves, overcome obstacles, and show up authentically in life. If you would like a personalized reading, please click the link in the description box below. And that is it. Let's go ahead and dive in. So, this week is going to actually be a very, in my opinion, fast moving, positive, reward reaping, just overall positive, good energy week. And the reason why is because this morning Venus moved into Taurus, which is its ruling sign, and tomorrow morning Mars is going to move into Aries, which is its ruling sign. Neptune is in Pisces, which is its ruling sign. So we have a lot sitting where it likes to be. Which means that we have a lot of like alignment type of energy going on. So with Venus moving into Taurus first and foremost, this is this is my dog. Venus moving into Taurus is very much about pleasure and comfort and like what we value, what makes us feel valuable. It's having like an eye for art or having this internal vision that you express through art. It's very much involving the senses. It's a lot about like, what does this feel like? What does this smell like? What does it look like? What does it taste like? This is a very cool transit to go through, considering that we just had the Jupiter Uranus conjunction here. And Uranus and Taurus is all about materializing these innovative ideas, right? So, like, all of these ideas for like where we want to see the world go, what our ideals are for the future. Uranus and Taurus here is helping to materialize those things. It's kind of like the industrial revolution vibes, but more technological. So like this is the time, because Uranus is a slow moving planet. It's going to be in Taurus for a really long time. So this is really like a long-term generational theme of like materializing innovation. And Jupiter helped us to kind of expand on that and see like, oh, well, if I kind of like jump on this train and get innovative, then I can kind of like expand on what I'm trying to create. Now Venus moving into here is like really, especially after like Venus in Aries and all of that energy that we've been experiencing throughout the sign of Aries, and the fact that we had that solar eclipse in Aries conjunct Chiron, right? Like where we're really healing these identity wounds. And then Venus transited through that of like, who the fuck am I? It's like who the fuck am I and what is the value of that? Now, as Venus transits into Taurus, I see that as like really being able to express and going towards things that you more authentically value, right? So like instead of like chasing what other people think is valuable, you're really able to say like, no, I'm valuable and I'm confident in who I am, and I'm going to chase after what I want. I'm going to put my pleasure and my desires at the forefront here and really figure out how to chase that. I'm going to really express my vision. I'm going to take what's in my third eye and try to materialize that into reality. Could also be a really great time to get in touch with your own pleasure and your own desires and your own comfort. And this can go one way or the other. Like, if you're more of a comfort creature oriented person, this could kind of like enable that, right? But if you're more of a person who's like, always trying to change and always looking for the next thing and like never really taking the time to slow down and enjoy the moment and process your senses and get into your body and allow yourself to feel pleasure and allow yourself to be comfortable for a moment, then this could be really positive for you. This is a time where you could be stretching into new areas if you allow yourself to. What I really love is the fact that Mars enters into Aries where it loves to be. You know, Mars went through its time in Neptune, and especially with its like last little throws here, especially today where it's conjuncting Neptune before it moves into Aries, it's really been like getting real about its like spiritual aspiration, you know, like how it is, how it keeps staying motivated even when things seem confusing, even when it doesn't know what's real, even when it has to just have trust, even when it's like, oh, okay, well, maybe now's not the time to take action and I just need to trust that the universe is going to show me the way or point me in the right direction, right? But with it moving into Aries, it's like go time. It is the fuel. It's the fire under your ass. So not only do you have the fuel, the motivation, the energy, the fire under your ass, but you also know what's valuable. You know yourself. You've worked on healing these identity wounds. You've done a lot of work, you know, over a long while now of getting clear about who you are and what you want and what is in alignment for you personally. And I think all of this is helping us create a collective environment where people can individually express themselves, their own unique talents, their own unique desires, their own unique vision, and how by like harboring a safe space for everybody to do that, it actually creates a fuller collective picture where we're actually healthier, you know, because it's like one extreme to the other, right? Like if you're sacrificing yourself and you're too collective, then you're not, you know, playing your part really. You're kind of just a follower and you're just going along with group thinking whatever everybody else thinks, and you're not like really making your fucking stamp in this lifetime in this world. But if you're on the other extreme and you're too fucking selfish and all you give a shit about is your own, like, you know, immediate desires, and you're not really differentiating your desires and you're just kind of like thrusting yourself upon everyone without consent, I mean, that's ugly and horrible as well, right? So it's like finding the sweet spot of like, but I think we're getting to that sweet spot is what I'm trying to say. Like I think a lot of clarity is going to be coming through this week about that sweet spot. And I think we're going to have like a lot of energy applied towards alignment of that, of like getting in the groove, getting in the swing of things, of like, of being this individuated, creative, passionate person. So, next big transit to talk about is that Pluto retrograde is going to begin on Thursday. Pluto is in Aquarius, and Pluto retrograde happens every year for like 5 to 6 months, right? So like 40 to 50% of the year, Pluto is retrograde. So it's not like, you know, it's not like a Mercury retrograde or like Mars retrograde or Venus retrograde where you're feeling that so immediately. But it is still significant in the sense that, like, I think especially with this particular transit being also in gate 41 of human design, it's going to have us kind of like internalize our fantasies. Because, you know, part of gate 41 is turning fantasy into reality by actually taking action, right? So it's like you're stuck in fantasy world and you're not actually doing anything in the real world, in the material world, to make this fantasy or this dream become reality. But I think with this Pluto retrograde, we could be like, okay, well, maybe it's not the time to take action because I need to get clear about what this fantasy is in the first place, especially because Pluto's going to retrograde back into Capricorn, back into gate 60 of limitation to kind of, it could be just kind of like a reality check over what we are doing right now in this moment. So like right now in this moment, I would encourage everyone to get as wild and out there with their dreams and fantasies as possible, not necessarily not necessarily taking action on them yet. However, that I'm not going to say don't take action on them, but I'm just saying that like there's this inner transformation of this whole fantasy thing happening. So it might not be the time to take action, but with Venus and Mars being where they are, I would say that there is time, like there is this like importance to taking action on something, but maybe in the background you're kind of allowing this inner transformation to take place over the next 5-6 months, right? Because starting next year, Pluto's going to permanently be in Aquarius, and it's going to zip through this 41 again, right? So like right now we're kind of just getting this little taste of it. And this is like transformation of this group think. This is transformation of this innovation I'm talking about. This is transformation of humanity, you know, of the pact we make as a collective society, transforming what community looks like, transforming what community feels like. And when Pluto retrogrades, it's going to make a sextile to Mars. But it's also interesting because when Mars moves into Aries, the moon in Aquarius is going to conjunct Pluto and square over to Venus. So this whole like Mars, Pluto, Venus thing is playing out this week. And it's, to me, it's like you've done a lot of fucking work on these areas. You know, like Venus retrograde in Leo, like that was another time of you kind of working on this. Like Mars, every like the fact that the north node is in Aries puts a highlight on Mars since this nodal shift took place. So you've been working on like what motivates you, what fuels you, what gets you going, what do you value, who are you, you know, like all of these things have been things we've all been collectively heavily working on. Pluto comes in as like almost like I want to say like an external power struggle of collective groupthink and how that can knock you off the progress you've been making in this individual place. So maybe that's what I want to say. While you're doing this inward transformation and you're getting in touch with your fantasies, you could ask yourself, is this fantasy mine or is it someone else's? Does it belong to the collective? Does it belong to my family? Does it belong to kids at school when I was younger? Or is it really mine? You know? On Friday, the moon is going to be in Pisces and conjunct Saturn. At that point in time, it could be like a feeling of needing to get your shit together. Also, back to this feeling of trust, you know, needing to have trust in spirit, needing to have trust in karma, that everything is happening just as it should be, that there is this higher order to everything going on, that you don't need to control it all. Also, I want to point out that the fact that Neptune is at 29 degrees Pisces, and I feel like Neptune's going to be at this degree for quite a while. It's really that like pivotal last push of this alignment between the planet of spirituality and the sign of spirituality, you know, being in its home sign. So there, like, while all of this is playing out, there is really this big emphasis on this background of like spirituality and like what that means to us all on a collective level. So while Saturn has been here calling out the bullshit, Neptune is there showing you the truth. There's also a lot of spiritual ascension happening on a collective level, so like I just want to point that out because I think that there is going to be some focus here and to hold space for different, because like everybody has a different way of getting to the same truth. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody has a different way of getting to the same truth. So we need to have a little bit of care and consideration on holding space for these people to reach this conclusion in different ways, to reach this source energy in different ways, but ultimately having trust that in the long run, we're all fucking going the same place. We're all reaching for the same energy. We're all going to realize source and oneness, but we will get there in different ways, and that is okay. The problem is people that are distracting from that journey in the first place, right? Like a good example that's kind of popping up into my head right now is the distraction for a lot of women of like ego death and like, oh, you need to like, dissolve your ego and blah blah blah. And that is really a fucking distraction, especially for women who never were really in touch with their egos in the first place. And the fact that it's a distraction from living in this material world where you need to have an ego. Your ego is what keeps you separate from the oneness, right? So that is what we define as life, as material reality from birth to death. That's a thing. You're here to kind of merge these worlds together, not to forget that you're here on the material plane. And I think that that's another big part of Saturn pushing this Piscean energy towards Neptune of just like, this is the bullshit, go towards the light, right? Also Sunday, Mercury is going to conjunct Chiron. The moon's going to come into Aries as well, into this conjunction. That is a day where we can really be aware of how our words either heal or wound others' sense of identity. And maybe this is kind of why I just went on this tangent about holding space for people to get somewhere in different ways, because there's a lot of like disrespect for the autonomy of people. Like if I talk like, see, that's the thing as well, is that there is a difference between preaching a bunch of information at people and actually coming from a place of lived experience. And it's funny because this is something that another reflector that I highly respect also just went on a tangent about, which is why it's kind of like popping up into my head, but it's true. Like we all have our own individual experience that teaches us our own individual things in our own unique way, and that's what makes us fucking special and important, and we're supposed to share that and express that and do something with that. So having all of this knowledge is great, but having a lived experience is even more valuable, right? As we're getting into value. And so expressing yourself from your own lived experience is fine, but trying to tell someone that their lived experience is incorrect and warping their sense of it's like gaslighting. It's like you're trying to warp someone's sense of reality, sense of identity, their experience that they've gathered in this world, and you're trying to tell them that that is not true. So like here's the thing too, you can doubt information, you can be skeptical, and you can take what doesn't resonate and throw it in the fucking trash for you personally, but don't ever infringe on someone else's sovereignty of their own experience and their own truth and their own unique way of reaching spirituality. Okay, so as for the moons, we are starting out today with the moon in Capricorn, and we will end on Sunday with the moon in Aries. This is moving us through the quarter of mutation and into initiation, right? So we're kind of like, let go, let God, so we can initiate something new. And I think that that is perfect for the energy going on. We're kind of like, moon wise, we're kind of feeling out like, we're feeling out what's the next step. We're feeling out how can I stop collective groupthink from stopping me from getting on the next step. Let go, let God, let's fucking go, right? Like that's kind of the theme of this week playing out with the rest of the planets. So yeah, thank you. This was a short and sweet one, guys, but I hope that it was helpful for you. And I would love to know how these transit videos have been. Oh, actually, you know what, guys? I am so sorry. I totally forgot about the card portion, which I did pull a couple cards. So first I have the castle and the cave. The castle, the cave. Also, the cave is reminding me right now also of Mercury retrograde and how that's kind of also been an inward reflection of this, like, who am I? What do I want kind of energy. And I think that when Mercury conjuncts Chiron, it could be a good time to really heal yourself through that expression and holding safe space for other people to have their own unique viewpoints and expression as well. And I guess that's the cave is kind of reminding me of that because it's like a reminder of like when you do go inward and you do search within. And then the castle to me is like that reality versus delusion, that like building what you really really want based on what you went inward to explore versus, you know, just some like something that just looks pretty and glamorous but it's fucking fake, you know, like that the person inside is cold and unfulfilled and like dead inside, you know, but it looks pretty from the outside, right? So like we've really also been working on flipping that script of like, how do I feel awesome and fulfilled and pretty and amazing on the inside, regardless of what that looks like on the outside, right? The castle, 149. The castle, the palace, the penthouse, the fortress. It's no wonder fairy tales tell of sleeping princesses within castle walls. Like most archetypes, the castle is loaded with duality. It represents abundant riches, seductive fantasy, ornate wonders, and lavish adornments. Yet the walls are thick, cold, and shadowy. This card points to a tendency to hold on to possessions, quite possibly a literal home or a position that project the image of achievement, while the soul longs to run barefoot in the forest, leaving it all behind. At times we must settle down, yet the castle lulls us with its spell of materialism and we fall asleep to our deepest dreams. The castle can be a motivating force, an enchanting goal to travel toward, but it is best not to linger within its walls of decadent deception for too long. When light, it's visiting your throne of power. And that's what this reminds me of. This is just exactly what I was saying. It's like you have found this gem, you know, through all this work of like individualized identity. How do you get back to that no matter what? Like, are you building the castle from that freaking place, right? Otherwise, when dark, it's going to make you feel stuck, depressed, spells, walls, right? So like that's like when you look successful, you have this nice big house and this you know, show offy career and this trophy wife or like whatever. You have all these like things to kind of show off to the outside world, but you feel stuck by that, right? Like you feel depressed. It's there's like this purposelessness behind it, and then all those material possessions actually turn into like the baggage and the bondage that keeps you stuck, that keeps you trapped because you're too scared to let it go, because you know deep down inside that it's not who you really are or what you really want. If this a card appears, okay, we don't need that. Notice how castles are designed to keep things out. They defend, they separate. It is likely there is connection and community beyond its walls that will revitalize you. And that's the thing too, is that if we're building these things just to look good from the outside, we're pushing people out from the real us, the us on the inside, right? So then we're going to attract people that are also kind of like cold and materialistic and dead inside, right? Like, have you noticed that? And then you feel even more lonely because these aren't even your people. You can't even show up authentically. You can't even express yourself because these are just fake people that like the fake you. They don't like the real you. Okay, then the cave. The cave, the dark, the portal, the interior. Those who are fortunate enough to find and enter the cave are forever changed. It is a place of potent power, acting both as portal to another realm and a space for sacred ritual and initiation. The cave is a place to return for meaningful retreat, where one can see the true self in the darkness. In esoteric teachings, the cave is known to reside in the center of the heart. Within its walls, the whispers of compassion and self understanding can be heard. Yet, because of its mystery and power, many of us fear the cave and never try to find it. We busy ourselves in the bright lights of the city, while the cavernous and dimly lit chamber calls out to us in the night. Where is your cave? You already know. Return to it and tend the fire. The sacred center within. Envision yourself as an old sage in a cave. What amenities do you need? What draws you even closer to the cave within the cave? Okay, that part I really, really love with this Venus and Taurus energy. Envision yourself as an old sage in a cave. What amenities do you need? What draws you even closer to the cave within the cave, right? So that's something you can use to get in touch with the real value, not this castle value, right? But the real value that resides in your heart. Slowly and steadily, crystals of enormous magnitude grow within the dark confines of caves. Let the cave teach you patience. I love that too. Because, see, that's the thing is like we've kind of been exploring desires, right? And like, I know for me personally, I have been. And like, a lot of like what spirit has been calling me to is like getting away from like all of this like mental activity, right? That I've become so almost like addicted to, right? I built a whole construct or identity around my mind, most of us did. And so a lot of it has been calling me back into like my body. Like, how do I get into my body? How do I remember that I'm like an animal, that I have all these primal instincts that I like need to get in touch with, that I need to get in touch with my like desires in the first place, right? Because a lot of it has been strategizing and mental constructs and like other people using my mind and stuff. And so I have built a lot of my identity based around being what other people need instead of figuring out what I want, right? And I think a lot of people can relate to that, and that's been what a lot of people like me have been working on, especially over the last year. So the cave is like that place of connection where you can get in touch with your own desires, your own real desires. Rather, the castle is kind of like, because like I guess that's what I'm trying to say about Taurus. Taurus can either plant seeds and nourish seeds that grow into these like beautiful, awesome, materialized dreams kind of thing, like very manifesting kind of energy, or it can just constantly be chasing like surface level shit, getting trapped in the comforts of like I want to say sustainable pleasure versus quick hits of dopamine kind of pleasure that distract you from making real grounded changes. That's what I'm seeing, the duality that it talked about with this, right? Like buying a really expensive pearl necklace that you end up accidentally flushing down the toilet versus building a dream career that you're going to wake up and feel happy and fulfilled doing every day for the next fucking 30 years. If that's you, right? Because again, it's all about you. It's all about the individual. And you're the only one that's going to know the difference, that's going to be able to differentiate between these fickle desires and these real sustainable ones. So, yeah, thanks, guys. That's all I got. Keep an eye out for the new moon workshop that's coming up. And if you would like to book a personalized reading with me, you can click on the link in the description box below. I would love to hear your feedback, any comments, critiques, anything over this transit video. Let me know if it's been helping you in your own personal life at all. And if you do find it valuable, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, all the things that help me grow and help this message and these transit videos to reach more people. So that's it. Thanks, guys. Have a great week ahead.